now I can figure out how to move forward. Now let's figure out a treatment. Now let's try this thing that she gave me like a printout sheet, and it was like stuff to try. It was basically like stop doing intense cardio, start weightlifting, start some Pilates, and try a low carb diet. Cut certain things out, stop eating low-fat yogurt, eat full-fat yogurt, stop eating, it was like all those things that I had been trying to do.
Reverse.
Yes, it was like do everything opposite. And I was dumbfounded. And I was like, there's no way.
Hello and welcome back to another week of Calling in Sick. I'm your host, Alex Voldison. It is good to be back with you guys. Last week we talked traditional Chinese medicine and women's health. Well, this week we're doubling down on all things women's health. And I obviously had to bring in a guest to do that because you guys already know this women's health story. So I have the honor of having Sasha Pieterse-Sheaffer on the podcast. You might know her from the hit TV show Pretty Little Liars. Sasha has PCOS and epilepsy, and in this episode we dive into her entire health journey, what that was like, how she navigated her health journey in the public eye, and how her chronic illness has impacted her life today. She is so special. The way she talks about her story and her symptoms and her feelings, I think is going to resonate so deeply with you guys. Cannot wait for you to give it a listen and hang out with the two of us. Before we dive in, quick housekeeping. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and follow, and send this to your bestie that you watched Pretty Little Liars with back in the day. And since it's already disgustingly hot outside here in Austin, Texas, and the sun is sunning, I figured my picks of the week would be for some sun safety. So if you're looking for a tinted face moisturizer that doesn't leave your face feeling greasy or caked or whatever, Merit just came out with an amazing tinted sunscreen. So go check that out. Link in the description below, as well as a discount code. And for our body, you guys know I love SuperGoop. I'm obsessed. Their body oil is amazing. It's SPF 40, I think. Maybe SPF 50. Don't clock me on that one because the brain fog is brain fogging. Link below and discount code as well. Keep your skin protected. We're already chronically ill. We do not need more problems. And I would bet that probably one of your medicine makes you photosensitive. Oh, and before I forget, in case you just can't get enough, I also got to be a guest on Sasha's podcast, Woman in the Nude. That episode is releasing today as well, so go check it out. We had a great conversation. Boy, we could have sat on a couch and probably talked all day together. So go check that out in case you want to hear more of us yapping about all things that I know you guys love to yap about too. Otherwise, enjoy this episode, enjoy this week, and I love you guys. Okay, happy listening. Hello and welcome back to another week of Calling in Sick. I have an amazing guest this week. I'm so excited. We've been chatting all day and I feel like I have a best friend from like childhood that I've just sat on the couch with and talked about life being chronically ill. Hey, Sasha.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I've said this on mine, but I love the name of your podcast. It's genius. And yeah, I mean, we've known each other for about a month, but it feels like it's been forever. It's awesome to get to know you and just in general your experiences and what you share. I'm really, really excited for our friendship. So thank you so much for having me on here. I'm honored.
Likewise. It's such a treat. You are like such a interesting human being. Like everything you've done in your life and you keep doing more and more. It's super inspirational, especially like having chronic illnesses and still having drive. We were just talking about it.
Thank you.
There's something really, really just, I'm going to say iconic because it is iconic. And doing that.
I appreciate that. And I feel the same way about you. I mean, you also like break every sort of like stereotype of everything. Like what you've accomplished, how young you've, been, like just in general, like finance. You got into that industry so young and you nailed like everything that you do. It's really cool. You are really cool in general.
Oh my gosh, thank you. That was what I'm learning. We're taking compliments.
Yes, we are taking compliments. We need to follow each other's advice.
Exactly. We're going to hold each other accountable.
Yes.
So for those that don't know Sasha, I'll let you give your little download and background, but you are amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. I am an actress. I've been acting for over 25 years, which is wild. I love my job. I probably am most known for Pretty Little Liars, but I also have a cannabis-infused social beverage called Hippie Water.
Delicious.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and I've been really open about my journey as far as moving away from alcohol. I have PCOS and I have epilepsy, and so it's been a long health journey, figuring out what works best for me, what definitely does not work best for me, and navigating that as along with motherhood and you know, a lot of passions with business in general. Being an entrepreneur and where that has led me and continues to lead me is really fun, and just constantly reinventing myself, and that is what I've set out to do. So that is a little bit about me. I forgot it was an intro, so I just kept talking, which
I
is
liked it.
And I have a podcast called Women in the Nude, which
Yes,
is
you do.
Just basically centered around women's conversations, mental health, women's health, women in business, interesting career paths, all of the above. Just basically creating a safe place for women to talk about things that they don't normally talk about.
It's an awesome landing zone. Like, the community that you've curated is really beautiful, and I'm so inspired and impressed by how many balls you can keep in the air. Girl.
You know, I surprise myself as well. It's a constant balancing act, and I think, you know, to what we were talking about earlier, it's something is getting sacrificed.
Yeah.
And I try my best for it to not be my marriage and my son, and my health. But you know, it's hard. You're just
The inevitable.
Yeah.
We put the health in the back seat when you have so many dreams that you want to chase after.
Yeah, exactly. And I know you know all about that, and it's constantly trying to follow every single passion that you have and always finding new ones, which is just ridiculous.
I know, God damn it. Can we stop having new passions, please?
Seriously. But you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way. It's definitely never boring. We'll put it that way.
That is true.
Never boring.
Never boring at all. And becomes ever more exciting with our health layered onto everything. So what does a good day versus a bad day look like for you?
A good day is not feeling like my body's attacking me, feeling like I have energy, feeling like I don't have like a cloud above me. I feel like I'm, in general, constantly fighting my body to some degree. So a lot of it is just like, oh, I don't feel bloated today. And it's mainly about feeling comfortable in my skin. I think that's it. Feeling like I can conquer all of that I, you know, that long list that I have that day. And so I think it's being able to like live up to my own expectations of how I want my day to go. It was kind of like a weird, long-winded answer, but I think
that's the best answer. Living up to the expectation of how you wanted your day to go. Like, damn, Sasha, that's perfectly stated what chronic illness is.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, I think, yeah, that's just ultimately, you know, how I wish things would happen every single day. Obviously, like we know that does not always happen. And so, yeah, I guess like a bad day is just feeling like I can't rise above the roadblocks, whether that is like pain to some degree, phantom ones, you know, random things that I'm like, where is that coming from? Or just in general feeling like my whole digestive system is, feeling behind, feeling like I just can't accomplish everything that I feel like I needed to that day, feeling like I can't be the best mom, just feeling less than in general, overall, you know?
Yep.
That's generally what a bad day looks like.
Well, our bad days can hang out together.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. And
Trauma bonding.
Woohoo! There's nothing like having a body that's fighting against itself, but having a mind that just wants and craves more.
I know.
And knowing that you have to sacrifice something.
Yeah.
To get through all of those different holdbacks and roadblocks and challenges. It's frustrating. And I can't even imagine, well, you and I both grew up kind of sick. Like, we started having symptoms at super young ages.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine having the symptoms at a young age and being in the public eye. Will you walk us through a little bit, like, what was that like?
Yeah. I feel like in the moment, it was really, really hard, but I feel like I almost blocked a lot of it out, and the aftermath of unpacking everything was almost harder than the actual process.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, I started acting when I was around 4.5, technically, commercials, modeling, and that sort of thing. But theatrical, I got my first TV show when I was 5.
Oh my God, wait, I did not know that. What was the TV show?
It was called Family Affair, which is a remake, and I played a twin, and it was super fun. So Gary Cole played my uncle, and Tim Curry played the butler. And
amazing.
honestly, I mean, I know I was obviously young, but they were amazing. And
I can imagine. Like, what great first coworkers.
Right? Gary has like I don't know if he still does. I'm sure he still does. He has an epic Halloween party every single year. But Tim Curry was just so gracious and so wonderful and so present. I have this beautiful, I know this sounds silly, but this beautiful Christmas ornament from him. And I hang it on my tree every year. He's just such a light. He's an amazing person. However, we were up against friends, which means that we were never going to survive.
Tough.
Yeah, that was a bummer. But my experience was really fun, and it really kind of solidified how much I loved the industry. And so my parents were in, quote unquote show business. They were professional dancers. They were a specialty act. And they were used to kind of that nomadic lifestyle, that, very creative environment. And so one thing that I will definitely give them credit for is that they always gave me the option that if I woke up one day and hated what I was doing, that I could stop, which again, in retrospect, is quite comical, because when I was contracted, I literally could not stop. There would be legal action if I decided I didn't want to do it. But I think in that headspace, it was like, oh, this is something that I'm choosing. Like, I really love this. So I definitely didn't have the stereotypical stage parents, and that helped.
Yeah.
But I always looked older than I was. And so generally, that's a challenge in the business. Usually you are older playing younger. And so I was always kind of fighting against what I looked like. And in general, I've always had older friends. I've always felt older. You and I discussed, now we feel like we're in our 80s.
We're in our 80s.
In our body.
Yeah.
Didn't think that's what it was going to, end up as. But mentally, I've always felt older. And
you're an old soul. You have an old soul.
Definitely an old soul. And so I connected with people that were older than me. I connected with adults more than I connected with people my own age. So being on set was very comfortable. I was usually the only kid, or one of, and that never fazed me. I was also homeschooled, and I really enjoyed it. And so I was just kind of trying to get school over with as quickly as possible. And when I booked Pretty Little Liars, I was 12 playing 15, and everybody else was over 18 in their early 20s playing 15. And so that was different. And I
didn't appreciate that age gap between all of y'all.
Most people didn't know about it. And so that was, quite the journey. I don't feel like they, treated me any differently. The crew was truly like our family. We filmed for 7 years. At that time, we were still doing 24 episodes a season, which does not happen anymore. So we really were spending more time with each other than we were our own families. Mm-hmm. And I can count on my hands the amount of crew that changed in those 7 years. So, we did a lot of life together, funerals, weddings, births, like everything. We celebrated and mourned together as a family unit. And that was really special. Not a lot of people get to experience something like that. So I'm super, super grateful. In the other end of the sword, if you will.
Yeah.
I dealt with a lot of very public health issues, but I didn't have a label for it. So just in general, when you're 12 years old, you are going through a lot of, changes.
That suck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so from 12 to 19, I became a woman. And my body changed on camera. And so naturally it would have changed to begin with.
Right.
But when I was 15, I had my first seizure. Nobody knew that I had epilepsy up until about a year ago. I kept it very quiet, but that was something that I was battling behind the scenes. And then...
was your first seizure on set, or were you
No.
home, or what was that like?
My first seizure, this is still intertwined with Pretty Little Liars, though. It was the day that our first Halloween episode premiered, which was like a special. And the reason I remember it so clearly is because I was getting ready for a lot of press that day. And so I had like an interview and then also, I think it was filmed, radio show. So it was filmed, but it was for whatever, when we still had radio shows. And
the good old days.
Yeah, the good old days. And so I was curling my hair. It was, I think, around like 9 a.m. I was curling my hair in the bathroom, and I had a seizure. And obviously I lost consciousness. I wasn't aware, but that was what was happening. And because that had never happened before, paramedics were called and I got rushed to the hospital.
Of course.
Funny enough, the first thing that they think of is the fact that you're on drugs.
Of course. That or anxiety. It's really one or the other.
Right, yeah. It's like, oh, she's got no health conditions, so she must be, on drugs. Yeah. And obviously that was not the case. And so we had no idea why. And I had the worst migraine I've ever had in my entire life. And this is, you will totally understand this. I was like, no, well, I have to go to that meeting. I have to go and do this radio show afterwards. And
convincing everyone else that you're fine and okay. And you're sitting there like, I don't think I'm fine, but if I keep pushing through, maybe.
That didn't happen, whatever. So I went to the interview and felt like shit. Damn. And that was really rough. And then I went to the radio show, and literally on camera, I threw up in my mouth. This is so disgusting. I'm so sorry. And swallowed it and was like,
we talk about everything on this.
Yeah. So I was like, they could tell something was really wrong. And so it ended early. And I was just like, sorry, I just have a really bad migraine. And it was making me nauseous. And so that's what that was. And so I will, never forget that day. And, after that, it was like a series of tests. And obviously you think the worst is happening.
Of course.
You're like terrified that they're going to find a tumor. Yeah.
Yep.
And so thankfully that was not the case. But it started the journey of trying to figure out why I'm having seizures. And I didn't know then, but that answer would come way later than I would have liked it to. And so, stress is a huge trigger for me.
Emotional stress or like
emotional stress.
External.
Yeah, emotional stress for sure. Well, I mean physical, but not in. It'll make sense in a second. Yeah.
Yep.
I had my first period when I was like right around 10, like barely 10.
Whoa.
And so I don't know if that has a tremendous amount to do with it. I was actually going to ask you this question because of endometriosis, but around probably 16 or 17, my body really started changing. When I was around 17, I started gaining weight in a way that I couldn't explain. I was desperately trying to figure out why. I was doing everything that on paper I was always told to do. My parents were dancers, so my mom, was very conscious of what she looked like physically. So, it was like living off of salads and doing as much cardio as possible, and at the same time having intense cravings for sugar or carbs or anything.
Yep.
Except for what I was eating. I was always nauseous. I would always almost faint when I was working out. Just nothing that I was told to do my entire life was working. I did cool sculpting, which did absolutely nothing except for bruise me. And, you just are trying to
you try everything.
Try
you
everything.
Throw the kitchen sink at it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was a minor. So I was also nobody was going to do liposuction on me at that age. Nope. And but you're putting yourself through all of this stress. And I've talked about this before, but I'll say it again because if you haven't heard it or if you need to hear it, this is the type of pressure that they put on you and what you put on yourself. In the very beginning of Pretty Little Liars, we had a costume designer that would compare our jean sizes. And at the beginning, I was 12. And so I had a 12-year-old's body. I was a child. Yep. And so I was pat on the back for having the smallest jean size. And then as my body changed, I did not have the smallest jean size anymore. And it was just always in the back of my head that I was getting not only judged by the outside, but also the inside.
This family
internally.
Unit.
Yeah. And that sucked. And nobody ever truly said anything to me, but little things in storyline and whatever.
It's almost worse when it's not said directly,
not addressed.
Yeah, and you're just like, fuck everybody because I know what you're thinking, but you don't have the courage to say it to me,
right? Or ask me if I know what's wrong, or
or if I'm okay,
or if I'm okay. Yeah, how about just how are you doing? Are you all right? Simple, pretty simple. And so it was very much this silent struggle. In the behind the scenes, I was going to lots of doctors trying to figure out what was wrong. I got laughed at. I got told that I was lying, that I must be surviving on fast food.
Of course.
That, any sort of thing you can think of. I had a doctor laugh at me, all of those things, which was incredibly frustrating. I, at one point, gained 70 pounds in a year. My team thought that I was hiding a pregnancy. I mean, you just kind
Jesus.
it never ends.
It never ends. Yep.
At Pretty Little Liars, we were really lucky in so many ways. Twitter had just become popular when our show came out, and so we were the first show to live tweet, to have hashtags on our screen, to have access to people worldwide in real time. We were the first show to have maybe not the first show, but one of the first shows of its time to have a lesbian couple. Just we did a lot of really cool firsts on our show.
Yeah.
Especially for, at the time, ABC Family.
And that year of ABC Family was awesome.
It was
not just year, but that chapter of ABC Family
that chapter
was pretty amazing.
It was really fun, and so that also gave people access to comment on my body in real time. While I'm live tweeting, all of those things that kind of happen. What people feel entitled to, those opinions, what they say vocally. And that was it was very confusing. I remember putting out a statement that was basically just, I'm under construction. And because the thing is that I do have a level of understanding. I was playing the It Girl that was in a character in a book, which meant it was described a certain way. Sure. We all know that It Girls have a stereotype on what they look like. Whether that's right or wrong, it's just is what it is. You know, the Regina Georges, that is the body type. That's the look. That's what we follow for the most part. And so I started out looking sort of like that, and then I didn't. And that was not, that didn't match the storyline. It didn't match the book. It didn't match the expectations of what that character was supposed to be. And so in that way, I understand it. You know, you're seeing a storyline or a show in general that you're really connected to, and it's supposed to be a certain way. You have an expectation of something, and it's not happening.
It's challenging that,
And it's challenging that, and the storyline maybe isn't as believable, or it doesn't quite make sense, or, you know, it's not, you know, the way that it's supposed to happen. It doesn't fit in that box like we've talked about. So it's, I think I felt a lot of pressure, simultaneous bullying in a way that I had never received before. I think also being homeschooled, it's like I played characters like that. I understood the concept, but like it had never truly happened to me in a everyday setting. Yeah.
Sure. That makes sense.
So, you know, it was foreign. Adults didn't generally do that to me as a kid. And so I never had that, like, you know, fellow student, fellow friend, fellow, you know, experience where that was happening. Yeah. So it felt like it was mimicking that, but almost in a little bit more of a cruel way.
I would say in like an incredibly cruel and like sadistic way.
Yeah, it didn't feel good. Well, you can wrap it up in a nice little bow there. So I addressed it as in, like, I don't know what's happening to me. If I had a label, I would give it to you. I can't figure out what's happening with my body. And so, you know, I'm not pregnant. I don't know what's happening. I'm doing my best, basically, which, you know, in retrospect, I didn't owe anybody an explanation, but I think it was me vocalizing the fact that, like, this is also confusing for me.
Probably was good for your mental health to actually do that statement.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, you're right. It was good for my mental health. It didn't change anybody's response, but it was good for my mental health, and that's what was the most important.
Did people respond, like, within the chronic illness community and say, like...
Not that I can remember.
Damn.
Yeah, not that I can remember. But at the same time, I don't think anybody thought it was a chronic illness.
That's
you
true.
Know?
Okay, yeah.
You know, it was like, we also...
You're living in, like, this...
Yeah, we have more
area.
insight as to what that is now. People weren't talking about PCOS. I didn't know it was PCOS. I couldn't tell people that that was the case. Maybe there were a select few that knew that it could be, or maybe she has what I have, but it wouldn't be something to necessarily comment.
Yeah, and it was a different time. Like, I feel like now...
Yeah.
Selena Gomez goes on...
right. She can talk
Only
about
Murders
lupus.
in the Building.
She can talk about... Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, prednisone.
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
but that
exactly.
it wasn't talked about as much back then.
Right.
Or at all.
Yeah, or at all. Or, you know, I didn't know what PCOS was until I found out.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I will say what I will pat myself on the back for was that I did have I chose really good people around me. And so my community was good, and that made all the difference. And I, no matter what, continued to advocate for myself. I didn't accept the fact that this was just me. There was something wrong, and I knew that it was abnormal and not something that I was controlled or that I could control. And there were also other signs where, like, obviously my weight gain, for, you know, my cravings, those things I knew were off, but I had never had a normal period. I, you know, was tired all the time. I obviously had seizures, and so I knew that, like, stuff was wrong and that those things are undeniable. Every time I would talk about my irregular period, though, it would be, oh, you're young, it'll change.
Even
or,
out.
oh, it's your diet, you're eating like shit, so, you know, things are all, it's just...
Everyone has a reason for their, yeah. Not the correct reason, though.
Not the correct reason, exactly. So when I finally got a label, 17 gynecologists later, I went to one endocrinologist, and she listened to me, finally. Someone listened to me. And she was like, I think you have PCOS. I need to, figure out a couple things, but that's what it sounds like. And I was like, I have no idea what is that. So polycystic ovary syndrome. I felt so validated and like literally overjoyed when I left her office because I had a name.
Isn't that the weirdest mind space, to be excited about a diagnosis?
Yes.
Like, healthy people will never understand what that is like.
Yeah.
Because the cognitive dissonance is so strong.
Totally.
Unless you live that experience.
And I feel like, it's also human nature to almost not want to find out what's wrong. We like
totally.
We do avoid like, oh no, I'm fine. And so that's also, when people think about it that way, it's like, why are you happy that you have something? It's like, oh, well, now I know that I'm not fucking crazy.
Yeah, and also, like, I've been pouring so much fucking time and attention to this. Yes. It had to be something.
It had to be. And so it was like, oh, wow, okay, now I can figure out how to move forward. Now let's figure out a treatment. Now let's try this thing that she gave me, like, a printout sheet. And it was like stuff to try. It was basically like stop doing intense cardio, start weightlifting, start some Pilates, and try a low carb diet. Cut certain things out, stop eating low fat yogurt, eat full fat yogurt, stop eating, it was like all those things that I had been trying to do.
Reverse.
Yes, it was like do everything opposite. And I was dumbfounded. And I was like, there's no way. And sure enough, it wasn't overnight. It was really tough. But all of a sudden, my cravings weren't so intense. All of a sudden, my brain fog was lifting. I was losing a little bit of weight. It wasn't a ton. It wasn't everything, but it was progress. And that gave me, exactly, it was hope. And that was just like, oh, not only do I have a name now, but also I see a little bit of progress, and that means everything. And so I would still have major flare-ups. So I would get really stressed out, or I would have a seizure, and I would gain 20 pounds in like a week. Like, no joke. And then it would be like, it would take me like 6 months to get rid of that. So it wasn't like it was like better immediately. But I was having more periods, so I was put on metformin, and I still am on lamotrigine, which is for my seizures, and that's the safest, they say anyway, the safest seizure medication to be on. So I was able to take both, which was also awesome. I didn't have to do any serious shakeups there, and so I was ovulating because of metformin. It's still few and far between on periods, but it was definitely more than it was before. I had a name. I was able to talk about it, and I kind of just made it a priority. I had found out, and I had a label for PCOS right as we were finishing Pretty Little Liars.
Damn.
Which was like great, but also kind of like really wish I could have talked about this sooner when I had like the height of my platform.
Yeah.
But I just made it a priority to be like, I'm going to share this with as many people as I can, because when I started finding out the statistics behind the amount of women that have it, or have it and don't know that they have it,
it's mind-boggling.
It's mind-boggling. I had so many women that I knew very well. My makeup artist was one of them, who had PCOS. I never said anything, or decided to get tested for it because they felt like
Something
they had
resonated.
a lot of similarities. And so, I think, like very well, chronic illness looks different on everybody. It's not a one-size-fits-all. The reason PCOS is so hard to diagnose is because it can look different on anybody. Or on everybody. A lot of women don't have weight gain. They have a lot of gastro issues. They have cysts on their ovaries. They have, a plethora of other things. And so, you can't just say, you can ask certain things. There are definitely correlations, but you know, it's hard to pinpoint sometimes. And so it really does take advocating for yourself and being serious about just honestly trying different things. And so, you know, when I got pregnant, first of all, I had in my head that like, it's probably going to take me a long time. I have
that in my head too.
Yeah, it was like mentally preparing for like, this is probably going to be a tough journey. And so I did my best to try and relieve that stress of like prepping for the fact that like, let's just have fun.
I love that.
Which is also like in practice, not easy. Like women, like
we love to think.
We love to overthink and try hard for, you know. And so, like, I, you know, was researching everything I possibly could. I was testing my pee like 3 times a day. I was, you know, like, I was intense. One thing I will say.
You and I are the same.
I know.
Cloth.
Yes, we are cut for the same cloth. One thing I will say is that metformin did help me ovulate. I wasn't having consistent periods, but it was the reason I was able to get pregnant. And that is something that I'm grateful for. So, we were able to get pregnant. The other thing is that I don't have any cysts on my ovaries. I've got my little nodules and all the other stuff, but I don't have any cysts on my ovaries. And so thankfully we had a viable pregnancy. And a couple of really incredible things. I didn't get gestational diabetes, which I was almost certain I was going to get, especially since I have the weight issue. Like I was like, I'm almost guaranteed to get that. I did not have that. I didn't carry very well in some senses, but he was healthy the whole time. I was, for the most part, healthy the whole time. I had something called pelvic dysfunction.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
Let me just tell you.
Please do.
I think it was around 3 months it started kicking in. First of all, I started showing like immediately. And I think it was around three months, and I got unbearable pelvic pain.
No.
And at first, everyone was just kind of like, this is it. You just got to live with it. This is pregnant. You know, you're overreacting. Like, just deal with it. I was so excited to, like, it was during COVID, too. I found out I was pregnant 2 weeks before lockdown.
Whoa.
So I was petrified that Hudson was going to be able to be in the room with me. And also I couldn't like go to the gym normally or you know, everything was we felt very isolated.
Yeah, your plan for the pregnancy had to shift.
Right, exactly. Like that, yeah, that plan that we like to make for ourselves was not unrealistic in how it turned out to be. But I was like, oh, well, I'll be able to go on walks. I'll be able to walk to Starbucks. I'll be able to walk here. We had a lake that was kind of close to us. I was like, we were in Colorado at the time. I was like, oh, that's pretty. We can do that. No, I could barely even go upstairs. And what that is basically your body releases too much relaxin at once. It releases it too early. And so quite literally, my muscles were not holding my skeleton together. Specifically my pelvis. And so
just that little thing.
That little thing. Like sleeping, which is the most important thing for me, for the most part, was like impossible. You're supposed to sleep on your side. I could not do that. I at one point was like determined, all the pillows, all the everything, and my pelvic bones crossed over each other and made such a loud noise that like Hudson was like, oh my God, what was that? It sounded like a bone broke.
I'm sure.
It felt like it too.
Were you terrified?
It was excruciatingly painful. I mean, yes, I was like, am I going to recover from this? And I was severely inflamed for like weeks afterwards, but it is what it is. I would take that.
The amount of times we say it is what it is.
I know, right?
Over a lot of things that should not be what is.
Exactly. But I'm thankful that I didn't have gestational diabetes. He did not want to come out. He was in almost 2 weeks late, and it was about 28 hours of labor. Like, he was just happy in there. No, I was like, eviction notice, didn't matter. So, my body did what it was supposed to do, and I'm very thankful for that. I was also extremely lucky. My hormones regulated after pregnancy, which happens to, I mean, like the smallest portion of women with PCOS. So that was
phenomenal.
I mean, yeah, it's I would say also probably around 3 or 4 months postpartum. My milk didn't come in, so I wasn't able to breastfeed, which really like ate me alive. I didn't realize I had postpartum depression until after that cloud lifted.
As it usually does. Like,
As it usually does.
Depression in general, too. Just like,
actually,
that was it.
And that is one thing to talk about. This is, I think, also just the way that I was brought up. It was kind of unacceptable to have depression. I never, ever even gave myself the ability to have that title. It was like, no, you can't be. No, that's, no. Nope, 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 nope. And looking back on it, I absolutely did. Not just, you know, because of what I was dealing with pregnancy, way before that. At the height of my PCOS, I was definitely depressed.
They go hand in hand. I mean, our hormones are literally wreaking havoc on our body.
Yep.
How are you supposed to have a stable mental health?
Yeah. Yeah.
The neuroscience isn't there.
Right, exactly. And it's also probably because I didn't have a label on it. Like, in my family, it was like, you don't talk about when you're on your period. You don't act any different. Like, you just... which is ironic because we talk about everything, almost to a detriment. But those certain things were off limits, and it was always, like, about... any sort of
the sensitive
female emotions.
Yeah. The sensitive.
Yeah.
I get it.
So I was always like resilient and tough, and like that has helped me in life, but with, you know, some side effects. And so
also, if you get told you're gritty enough, you feel like you have to be gritty.
You have to live up to that, and you get rewarded for it. So, you know, that's how it has to be. Yeah, absolutely. Tough skin, you know, something to like pat yourself on the back for. Yeah, all of those knocks to your mental health. And so once I was able to give myself enough grace to recognize those patterns, the fact that it was okay, the fact that now I'm in a place where like, I cannot believe I'm having a regular period. I got to really see the results of taking care of myself, essentially.
Yep.
So I was able to get down to a healthy BMI, which was the most important thing to me.
I'm sure that was like a huge milestone.
1,000%. I literally had not had a healthy BMI since I was about 14 or 15. Everything was just so all over the place, and waking was such an issue for me that was, you know, that was like miraculous in itself. I felt like that cloud had lifted, like I said, like my hormones felt, you know, pretty regular. So I was able to get to a place where I hadn't felt that comfortable in my skin in so long. I had a lot of loose skin, which became another problem for my mental health as things do and shift. But I also had terrible diastasis recti, which, if you don't know what that is,
what is it?
You're naturally during pregnancy, your abs separate to make room for baby. That is completely normal and healthy. Actually, a problem if it doesn't. So my body did that. Did a little too well.
Your body is an overachiever, girlfriend.
Overachiever. Yep. Happy abs in that club.
Yes, I love it.
A++ for my body. I had about 4.5 inches of separation in my abs. So like I could feel some organs. That was neat. And when I've always had back pain, also talk about not researching something when you know that something is probably wrong. I was distracted by all of the other issues, I think.
We rank the issues.
Recently found out that I have pretty serious scoliosis.
Lovely. Nice.
So I've always, I remember going to the chiropractor at 9 and the guy being like, you know, your hips and your shoulders are like really wonky. So I've always had a bad back, but this was like another level. And then picking up a human and, you know, breastfeeding and trying desperately to do all of those things. And at the time also carrying a lot of extra weight around, it was debilitating in a lot of ways. And so my core was just so weak because of the diastasis recti that it was like 1,000 times worse. And I found out that when you exercise, when it's that far apart, it actually solidifies it in place. So they were like, stop doing core workouts. And surgery was that option. So I was like, okay, well, I have to have crazy abdominal surgery. Might as well get this loose skin off.
Hell yeah. Do it all at once.
I was like, I'm open anyway. So I was able to get my diastasis recti surgery. I was able to take that loose skin off. I got a breast lift and reduction, which felt great.
Hell yes. You know what? These are perfect mental health doings.
1,000%. And look, I recognize that there are a lot of women out there who don't want it or can't afford to. So it's definitely a privilege, but I will say it completely transformed my mental health because I was finally looking like how I was feeling on the inside. Because I had made that turning point of like, oh, this cloud is lifted. Oh, I've been able to, get to a place where I know that I'm much healthier on the inside, but I still feel this, I still don't feel like I'm at my peak mental health because of the result of everything else. And so that was a game changer. I finally had a strong core. Thank you. So my back pain was so much better. I was able to like be active the way that I wanted to be active, like being able to like not want to pass out after, taking a mild hike. I was like, oh no, I can do this. I felt powerful. I felt like I had regained a portion of myself that, I hadn't had in so long, or ever had in the first place.
It's a sense of independence, I think.
1,000%. That's a perfect way of putting it. I was like, oh, I can like keep up with my toddler. Oh, I can like do all of these things, and that felt awesome. I still had and do have bad times or bad weeks or bad, I go through phases, but they are easier to maintain and rationalize because I know that that it will get better. I know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. I know what I can do to help get better faster. Yeah, I have clarity. And that is super, super helpful. And that in itself has also brought me to the point of like, I want to have a podcast. I want to share this. I want to create a community. I want to like show that there is hope and light and like all the same reasons that you have this podcast. And then it also gave me the courage to speak about my seizures because I had never talked about that. So it took a lot of the shame away, which is awesome.
Yeah, you get to claim your health. You get to claim any of the hardships for you and transform them into, honestly, something beautiful.
Yeah, it is. And I had never really looked at it that way.
Yeah.
So thankful for that, for sure.
I think that's one of the coolest silver linings that comes out of a chronic illness journey is this like mental health transformation because no matter every single person in the world carries some form of mental health-ism. Yeah. And if you don't, then you are hiding and running away from it. I literally don't think there's a single person in this world that's not plagued by a little something. Yeah. And when you get sick, it forces you in its own time to overcome a lot of things and a lot of stories that we tell ourselves. Yeah. That make us feel small when maybe that's not what anyone else thinks or feels or true at all. So being pushed to do that, it makes, once you get to the other side of it, it makes you want to open up the floodgates and like open up that door to anybody and help push them through that journey too.
Yeah, and I think it also helps. You get to a point, hopefully sooner than later too, where you also understand that there's less room for people that make you feel shitty.
Oh yeah.
It's like I I have the energy to try and make myself better. I don't have the energy to people please when somebody doesn't deserve it. It's
100%.
Nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. Friends, family, they're not perfect, but there's also just a basic level of human decency and respect. It's okay to set that bar. And you just deserve better in general. And advocating for yourself, not just with doctors, but for everything in life. For your work, for your friends, for your family, for your relationships, like you deserve to have a voice, and your illness, your struggles, that doesn't take that right away.
100%. And you're right. Like, I think when we get sick, we feel like we have to take some of that right away.
Yeah.
That we have to be small, we have to be manageable, and other people, how they feel and carry our illness is our responsibility.
Yeah. It's just like a shame or guilt.
Yeah. Like, I'm already asking for so much help.
Yeah.
I can't put more on them, and I should help carry their weight of whatever I'm holding, or how they're thinking about how I'm holding my illness. It's like the most fucked up thinking, honestly.
Totally. And
but
once you see, and once you can get to the point where you can recognize that, it feels so much better. You just, in general, feel so much lighter.
It's the whole, what ifs. I think that it holds a lot of people back, of what if I say something and they don't want me anymore? Okay, well, what if they do want you?
Yeah. Or how about that's just not the right person for you?
Yeah.
Do you really
what if
want
they do
them?
cut you out? That might be a good sign to cut them out then.
Right. Do you really want that type of person? Do you want that type of pressure, that type of maintenance on with somebody like that? That's not it. Relationships take work, but it has to be a two-way street. You cannot be the one, healthy or not, pulling all the weight. That's just not. It's not okay, and it's not sustainable.
No, let chronic illness be the great relationship
Let
filter.
that be the hill.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. We've got enough.
We do.
Yeah.
And you're so right. We do have to be choosy on how we spend our energy with everything.
Yeah.
Have you heard about the spoon theory yet?
Spoon theory? No.
Okay, it's my favorite thing. It's this wonderful analogy a woman wrote that has lupus, and she was at lunch with her friend and trying to explain why she gets so tired and it looks different on different days, or even in the same day, morning to afternoon.
Yeah.
So she grabbed 10 spoons for each of them and gave them to her friend, and then she automatically put 3 of hers down. And she said, all right, we're both starting our day. I've got 7, you've got 10. Let's get ready for work. Brush our teeth, do our makeup, eat breakfast, get in the car and commute. That cost you 1 spoon. That cost me 3 spoons. And that's because I'm having a moderate symptom day. If I had a high symptom day, maybe it would take 5. If I had a really low symptom day, maybe it would take 1 for me too. But that's the way that she was communicating to her friend, this deficit that we're always on, and why you have to think through and make decisions based off of your energy, which is a bizarre thing to do in and of itself, but we have to.
That is an amazing way of describing it.
Isn't it awesome?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Having someone actually hold that, I think it makes it
because it's
tangible.
Visual. Yeah, it's visual. I think, and we were talking about this, so much of what we go through is a silent disease, or silent, illness, experience, silent pain, all of those things. And it's how do you describe nerve pain to somebody that's never felt like their entire body is on fire? I haven't felt that way, but I can empathize because I have other struggles. But if somebody doesn't have that, they can't even fathom. It's not even necessarily their fault.
No.
They don't fully understand what that's like. To see that visually, it's oh my gosh, okay, that, it's a little glimpse of what that's like, some understanding. That's a really good way of explaining it.
And you're right too, the finding the right words to communicate how we're feeling is so important. It's a hard burden and cross to carry. Yeah. And it's not fair that we have to do it.
No.
But if you can do it,
yeah.
boy, does that help.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Speaking of chronic illnesses and the impact to relationships and whatnot, how has good days and bad days impacted your relationships and your career. I can't imagine having a flare-up and then having to go on set for 14 hours.
Yeah. The set thing, that all depends on the people that I'm working with, to be honest. Okay. I've gotten really good at being, talk about communicating, being very open with my wardrobe department. So when I first meet them, and we, especially for movies, and we are, doing all of our wardrobe tests and try-ons, I will say my body is going to look different from now till the end. Say we're shooting for a month. We are going to definitely go through about 10 to 15 pounds of fluctuation based on whatever my body is going through at the time. And so that looks like shapewear. It looks like maybe 2 sizes of the same outfit. I'm the leanest during my period, which is so ironic. And I'm, I have the most bloat during my ovulation. And so, like, I can sort of track it. But even though my periods are regulated, they are still longer than most. So they're probably around 45, 50 days instead of like a 30-day. Sorry, not my periods. Like, I met my cycle.
Holy shit. I was like,
But I did have a girlfriend who, when she before she got diagnosed with PCOS, she had a month and a half period, or she was just bleeding the whole time. So yeah,
fucking terrible.
Women
and
do
expensive.
Have it, and so expensive.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So open communication with my wardrobe department, especially if there's any sort of like intimate scenes.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, that one's a little tricky. And then it's also about, certain types of circumstance. So like a good example is I did a movie where I played twins again. So many twins. And
it's because you're so stinking cute. We got to have 2 of you.
I don't know about that. One was like very conservative and the other one was very sexual. And I had some of my most vulnerable and intense sex scenes.
Nice.
For this movie, which is wild because it was right after having a baby and right when I felt the most comfortable in my skin ever. So that was a plus, but it was like ironic that, I had just become a mom and had just gone through like all of these transformations. And now I'm like, okay, well now I guess we're going to show it. I had, and this is somewhat common with PCOS patients and just in general, you gain a lot more weight during pregnancy, and in turn, a lot of times you get a lot more stretch marks. And so even though I was able to, get a lot of that loose skin off, I still have stretch marks that some of them go above my belly button. So pretty high.
Yeah.
And so then it's just like, I was honest with the director when I met him. I was like, look, I'm a mom.
I have a real female's body.
Yep. I was like, this character has not had a baby. So here's the thing. I'm comfortable showing pretty much everything. But realistically for the character, she wouldn't have this. So we are going to have to be strategic with certain camera angles. And the full frontal side will not make sense for her character. So you'll have to get like a body double for certain things. Like I'll do the entire scene except for that little portion that I know you want. And so it's really just about honest communication at that point.
Damn, Sasha, that's what I just like have to say. One, that's really fucking cool of you to like be at a place where you're like, hey, this is my body. This is what I look like. This is what I'm dealing with. And like, let's make a plan. That's fucking cool.
The hardest thing that I've ever done. Not the hardest thing I've ever done, but like one of in my acting career, a really pivotal moment. And thank you, I appreciate it. I will wholeheartedly take that compliment because being able to finally say that was awesome. And now I'm like totally open with it. And, now I'm talking about it on a podcast. And so that was great for my mental health.
Yeah.
And also was also able to show me that, like, I still got hired. I still played this really sexy character.
Yeah, you're hot. Duh.
I don't know about that. I have my moments. Most of the time I'm in sweatpants with like a messy bun, but and like old mascara. But but I can clean up sometimes. But it showed me that like I can still follow a career path that I want, and at the same time deal with all of these health things and be open about my body and be like an example to other women that they like don't have to hide it. And honestly, if I ever play a character who is a mom and that fits for, I will show it all. I don't care, because I also feel like women need to see that.
Totally, yes.
Some women don't have stretch marks, other women do. Some women don't gain weight, other women do. It's like, it's, again, not a one size fits all. Everybody looks different, and that is completely okay and acceptable, and it should be normalized.
It has to be normalized.
Yeah, it's just so unfair to put so much pressure on women. It's just, and we, in so many ways, I feel like that standard was pushed on us, but then we also do so much to uphold it.
Yeah, we carry it forward.
Not only do we put that pressure on ourselves, but we are guilty of expecting that of other women, which is just unacceptable.
And expecting it of ourselves.
Yeah.
I remember I gained 60 pounds in 1 year from prednisone. And I was on super, super high doses. And when I came off it came off slowly, but it came off.
Yeah.
And now they're called strea. They're like pregnancy stretch marks. They're like these deep caverns literally in my skin. Yeah. Looks like tattoos. I'm not quite sure. At the beginning, remember feeling mortified to be in a swimsuit. I didn't want anyone to see it. And they come only in the most unhelpful places. Your armpits, your groin, they come literally out of your butt crack. It's amazingly beautiful. We love. Looks like like a octopus got up there or something. And
those are called tiger stripes. They're like warrior scars. I love it.
Yes, they are. And now I like love that. And I think of all of those things in I counted them the other night. I have like 27 scars, surgical scars on my body. And I love them because they tell a story.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's also like...
It's a mindset shift.
If you have a partner that's supportive of you, like I think that would be... Now, that would be... Well, then too, but now, like, if I didn't have a supportive partner, or if I was trying to date, I think my mental health would be in a different place.
I'm fully there with you.
Just based on, like... that has to be super hard. I have so much, empathy for women that are going through chronic illness, especially with physical and mental, hardships like that.
Yeah.
That puts an entire, and it's unfair, and it's obviously, I feel like most of us overthink as well when it comes to this, but like it puts a different type of weight on it that is just shitty. There's no other way of explaining it. It's just shitty.
It is just shitty.
Yeah.
But there are good humans out there that will love you regardless. Like, look at Hudson, look at Cooper. Like,
yeah, they exist. Those people exist. They, and they're dealing with their own stuff.
Yeah. That's what we all have to remember is, like, literally everyone's carrying something. Form of baggage.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's... I've gotten to a place where I'm more comfortable with it. I've gotten to a place where I can wear a swimsuit and not hate myself.
Fuck yes.
Which is awesome,
Yes, it is.
And that feels great. It feels really good once you get to that spot. It really does.
I think there's so much build up to those moments where you crave just feeling mentally okay with yourself again.
Yeah. Just, it's like... I think a bit of it is rose-colored glasses, which is a term I like to say a lot, but so much of it is just craving feeling normal.
Oh, yeah.
Just like a normal baseline. I don't need to feel like Superwoman. I just want to feel normal.
The middle.
Yeah.
Like I would be okay with the middle.
Just average, Just,
yeah. So much of our generation, I feel like, you see it on social media all the time, like this dopamine addiction, like always craving these high highs.
Yeah.
And chronic illness is knowing that the high highs come with really low lows. And so you do crave this middle band, which is so weird because it's like,
So weird.
That's not where you think the magic in life is, where these beautiful moments exist. But in reality, it is actually where they exist. And they,
1000%.
like we talked about earlier, they don't have a short-term life.
Yeah.
The middle has a bunch of really amazing, beautiful moments that last the whole time. And that is like, wow, when you can turn your mind and start to notice that. It's pretty special.
That's special. Yeah.
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 Well, speaking of how our brains change and whatnot, this is, I think, one of my last questions, and then we'll go to my really silly shtick at the end of this podcast that I love.
it.
Is, what do you think has been the biggest lesson that you know now that you wish you could have told yourself at the time of your first seizure and at the time that you had to make a public statement?
That's a great question. The great questions are the hardest ones to answer, I feel like.
They are.
I feel like I have so many ways that I could answer this. I feel like
You don't have to have one.
well, I mean, I feel like the biggest lesson is that, like, that you've got so much room to grow. Like life, like, I love myself so much more now than I did then.
Oh, God, yes.
Not just because my health is at a better place, but just because it's like I feel way more capable. I'm willing to try new things. Sorry, I'm getting over a sore throat. So my voice is cracking like I'm going through puberty again. So sorry for those who are just listening. But no, truly, it's one of those things where I feel like when women tell you in their 30s and their 40s and their 50s and their 60s that life gets better, I believe it now.
I do too.
I really
do
do.
too.
Before, you're like, no, your 20s are supposed to be your, the highlight of your life. You're an adult. You can party. You can do all these things. But it only gets better. It truly, like, I feel so much more whole now, even with all the craziness, even with the health struggles, even with all of those things. I feel so much better now. So yeah, my advice then would be like to be okay with not being okay.
Yeah.
Letting
Oh, God,
yourself
yes.
not be okay. And knowing that, like, you are capable of so much more than you think that you are.
And it will get better.
And it will get better.
Yeah. Those big spikes even out.
And, yeah, absolutely. And we are, even with setbacks and shitty things that happen, we are also always finding out more about health.
Yes. Oh,
Like-
my God.
Like,
Yes.
if I knew when I had my first seizure that all of the pain and all of the issues that I'm going to have are all connected, I would have felt more peace. I would have been like, okay, it's okay. It's worth it. It's worth it to figure out what's going on. You're not going crazy. All of these little things are connected. They're not, they're not phantom. You're going to figure out what's going on with you. And don't just accept, like,
Nothing.
yeah, don't just accept nothing. Yeah.
Keep
You're
chasing
worth
if you have that
figuring
gut.
out.
Oh, I love
what's
that.
going
Yes,
on.
you are worth figuring out. It is.
Yeah.
That's the truest statement. And I think it's hard when you keep getting told no, but if you can hold that hope for yourself, it pays out in the long run.
What is yours?
Oh, God. Turn it around. I don't know what mine is. I think it's probably to learn the boundary of boundarying myself earlier. I wish I would have learned that I didn't have to hold myself to such a high expectation all the time, that health didn't need to be performative. I didn't need to wear a mask all the time.
Yeah.
That when I did inevitably take the mask down and let people in and actually share when I was in a hard time or what my health journey really looked like, so much more love came in. Of course, there's going to be shitty people that flake away, but
The real
give
people
that
are
2
there.
months and you're going to forget about it. It's going to be just fine.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think it's like learning to love yourself during the hard moments. And when you're young and your life doesn't look like any of your friends' lives because you're going through things that most people go through in their 40s, it's really hard to love yourself.
Yeah.
And love the life. But life is so short, so short.
Yeah.
And if we waste time just being angry or resentful or jealous of not having a normal 20s, we don't get that
wasting
time back.
The time you have left. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, those are expensive emotions.
Totally. That's a great way of putting it. Yeah.
I say that to myself a lot because I am a deep feeler. Yeah. Really
Big
like to feel.
And that is okay. And now I know that,
Yes.
from having a toddler, I'm like, big feelings are okay, but it's what we do with them that matters.
100%. Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, well, since it's the end of the day and my brain is turning into one brain cell, this is my favorite part of my show, and it's called the One Brain Cell segment.
I love that.
You just share, like, what is your go-to comfort show, movie, whatever right now? It can be dumb, it can be meaningful.
Great British Baking Show.
Oh, hell yes.
It's my comfort show. I will turn it on for background noise, for inspiration, for comfort, for literally anything.
Paul Hollywood is America's sweetheart.
Yep. Love him.
He's phenomenal.
Love it so much. Yeah, it really does. It like instantly makes me happy.
That music, the intro music for that show is like joy.
It is pure joy. Yeah.
And everyone on the show too is just so,
you know what? They are so supportive.
Yes.
What I love about that show is that they are just like, they help each other if they have more time. They, even with like the criticism, it's still like positive. There's still like a, do this next time instead of like, you're a shit baker. There's, we watch like our versions of it, the American versions of it. And I'm
terrible.
Like, and they're pinning people against each other. And it's just like, it doesn't have to be that way. It could be like this. Mm-hmm. And that would be great.
Yeah, the American version is very much injected with Americanisms of, like, defining self-worth by success and being really, really ambitious. And the British one is about, hey, you are not a famous baker.
And that's okay.
Do you want to try?
Yeah.
Do you want to have fun doing your favorite hobby?
Exactly. All that matters is that you find joy in it.
Yeah. That just is maybe the key and crux to life.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. Well, my dear, this has been so incredibly special having you on the show, and getting to know you has been the biggest treat. I love, love, love having you around and getting to hear how you process chronic illness and live with it. And thanks for being a voice out there for all of us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. You are welcome on mine anytime. I loved this, absolutely. And I'm excited for more conversations, for more of these.
Me too. All right, y'all. Love you. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for joining me for another week of Calling in Sick. As a reminder, I would love, love, love for y'all to like, follow, subscribe, save, share with a friend, do all of the things. It truly, truly helps grow this community, and it helps these episodes reach the people that need them the most, whether that's for an educational piece, to have a little laugh, or to not feel so alone. As a reminder, Calling in Sick sits on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify, and anywhere else where you can find your listens. From the bottom of my heart, I absolutely love you guys. Thank you so much for calling in sick with me every Monday. It's been an honor and a pleasure so far, and I can't wait to continue. I can't wait to continue building this community with y'all. Love you.